We are now recording. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to record just the beginning part, the 4 lightning talks that we're going to have, and then we'll end the recording to have just kind of an open conversation. So I want to welcome everybody to our IG meeting. It's been a long time since we've met. I know everybody was kind of had a crazy year and a mad dash, so it's nice to be able to take a breath. I feel like we're approaching the post-pandemic era, but we're not quite there yet. So since this is our last IG meeting of the year, I just wanted to welcome our incoming leadership. We have our chair, Amanda Nichols-Hess from Oakland, one of my favorite collaborators, and you'll see us teaming up again for LOEX 2022 as co-chairs. So we just can't get enough. And then we have our awesome vice chair, Amelia Merrick from Michigan State coming in, who is another awesome person if you haven't had a chance to collaborate with her. And our awesome, everybody's awesome today, I guess, Secretary Colleen Kothbauer from Delta College. So thank you so much for volunteering. Our IG needs volunteers to keep going and making reasons for all of us to gather together and share our ideas. So to get our meeting started today, we have 4 lightning talks of about 5 minutes each. We're going to have them all go back to back and then have questions at the end. So first up, we'll have Merle Rosenzweig from University of Michigan. Her talk is Breaking Out of 4 Walls, followed by Megan Rose from my own Washtenaw Community College, Seeing the Opportunity, Teaching Visual Literacy Online. Then we have Diana Perpich from University of Michigan on Connected Scholarship Librarian. And we'll end with Diana Sachs from Western Michigan University talking about flexible real-time group work. So we have a really nice variety of talks, and when we open it up to discussion at the end, you can ask questions of any of the people who did the lightning talks. You can throw out your own question for the group. You can share something that you're super excited about, but the focus of our meeting today is on the wins, right? We've all had time to complain and think about what hasn't gone well, but we're going to end this year talking about what we do want to take forward. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and turn it over to Merle.
Thank you. I'm also have problems with sharing screen, so let me know if you can see my screen. Is that a yes, Molly?
Not yet.
Okay. Let me. All right. How's that? Is that working yet? No? Okay, I need Diana to help me.
So did you click on the share screen button? Or Diana, chime in if you want to too.
Sorry, I was in the other app. I'm not sure where you are stuck in it, Merle, but if you want to send in the chat the link to your if I can share my screen with your presentation if it's a drive file. Is it a drive file?
No, it's not. I'm not that. Hold on.
Did you swear at it yet?
Yeah, well, let me get
you better mute.
I think it might be the security thing. So let me go ahead and share the screen. So how's this? Not working?
Not yet. Did you click on the share screen button?
Yeah, I got it down here.
Okay, and then you have a couple of options. You can share your full screen so we see everything that's on your screen, or you can choose a specific application, like just to share your presentation.
Okay, well, I have the application open.
Okay. So then if you click share screen, you should see that your application as a window as one of the options to choose.
Okay, hold on. That's why I needed Diana here, and she's not here.
I'm listening.
All right. Well, maybe why don't we have someone else go?
Okay. Do you want to do that, and then we can come back to you?
Yeah, and I think good? Probably Merle, you probably can't share your whole desktop because of security on that machine. So it's probably a little deeper than I'm used to.
Oh.
Okay, well, this is what happened when you update your operating system. Yeah, it did give me the security. Why doesn't someone else go ahead and Diana
Sure.
and I will fight over this together?
Right, so
And-
if I can, I think I can go, Merle, and just chat you in the chat directly, and then the other two folks can go next.
Yeah, let me
That
go.
sounds good. And it sounds like in the chat, somebody else had the same problem mysteriously happen to their machine this week too. So worst case scenario, Merle, you could tell us what you want to tell us and then share your slides later. So we could
Yeah.
always do that too.
That
Okay.
would be fine, but I'm going to have my expert.
Your
my
expert
teacher-
help you. All right. So Diana,
That's why she's here. She's here to
Yes.
help me.
Diana, go ahead. We'll turn it over to you. We're super flexible.
I think she means Diana Sachs, right? Because Diana.
Oh,
Purpose-
Oh,
You
sorry. Oh, sorry, Dana. I thought you were going to go first. No, you're going to chat with Merle.
Okay.
Either Diana or Megan, does either want to volunteer to go first?
I don't mind.
Diana, go for it.
Okay, let me pull up my share and I hope it works. Everybody cross your fingers. Is that working? All right. So I'm talking about facilitating flexible real-time group work in a virtual environment using the tools that we all have available to us through Google, specifically Google Docs and Google Sheets. One of the biggest challenges that I faced with this pandemic and teaching virtually rather than in person is I rely so heavily on group work in my classes. And I don't think I'm alone in that. When I'm teaching information literacy instruction, I find that having students work in small groups, whether that's a pair or a small group, and occasionally even just that kind of rapport back and forth with the entire class, it really promotes engagement, allows for more active learning, and that hands-on experience using our resources. The group work also frequently gives me evidence in that I can use for my assessment that students are actually able to engage with the resources. But for the student's perspective, it's not a graded activity. So, and because everybody's working together, the perception of individual performance is not an added pressure on students. So it's very low stakes for students, but it gives me as the instructor very good information of how well students are actually learning. It also frequently allows students to work together to sort of crowdsource the solution to any given problem. So my challenge was, how can I facilitate group work, group interactions, and still maintain these options when the students are all in physically different locations? So I decided to leverage Google. So I'm going to just show you a couple of examples of how I use Google Docs and Google Sheets to get that kind of group engagement when students were all over the place. So here's an example of a Google Sheet, or sorry, a Google Doc that I used, where I had all of the students read a short article. This is a news article from CNN. And this is for a public health class. I had all the students read this short article from CNN for their public health class and ask them to think critically about what are the unanswered questions that remain and just brainstorm. And I encourage them to be as broad in their thinking as possible. What else would they want to know if they wanted to learn more about this topic based on this particular news article that they read? So you can see I had a pretty extensive list of responses from students. And this was this was completed in about 7 minutes of class time, so really quite extensive. Another example I wanted to show you is how I used a Google Sheet. And I apologize, let me make this a little bit bigger for all of you, where this was for a more a graduate level occupational therapy class. And I assigned each student ahead of time to a particular team. There were 2 or 3 students in each team. And I've hidden the students' names for you for privacy purposes, but all of the students' names were listed on the sheet. And I assigned each team a different database to explore. The advantage of this was, instead of me just repeating everything about all of these different databases, and I believe I had 11 different databases for the students to explore, the students were able to essentially crowdsource their own information. They could explore the different databases and share with each other what they learned about when and how to use each database. So here's an example of what it looks like once it was filled out. So those are just a few examples of how I use those resources that we have, Google Docs, Google Sheets. These are freely available. I do want to make clear a few issues and considerations that you should all be aware of if you would like to use these resources yourself. First of all, make sure that you have very clear instructions and that you've laid out your document very clearly. It's always good to both verbally and written, have the instructions written as well as give verbal instructions. Another thing to be clear of for your students is to tell them to be careful not to accidentally write over another team's entries. It will happen. You just have to roll with it, but remind them to be careful about that. Because this is the danger of a crowdsourced document, is that anybody can edit. With that in mind, make sure to select that everyone can edit when you set your privacy settings for your documents. And then the last thing that I found was to be careful that the default settings for text wrapping often are not set, so that the text sort of disappears and runs off the page. So I would regularly go back into the Google Sheet, and while the students are entering their material, and I would regularly just reset the text wrapping over and over and over again. To make sure that everybody could see what was going on. And I certainly intend to continue using these tools in face-to-face classes. I think it's really great to create a final crowdsourced document that students can continue to refer to throughout the semester. So if you've got any questions, you've got my contact information. I'm going to pass it off to the next person.
Thanks, Diana. That was awesome. I got some ideas there for myself for sure. Let's go over to Megan on visual literacy.
You know what, Megan, hang on, I think I have Merle's up. So if Merle, I'm going to see if let me just test right now and see if I can show it, then we can go next. And if I can't show it, then we'll do something else.
Sounds great.
So let me just, I'm a little nervous because someone else, Amy, had said that she also got caught with her.
No, I have to apologize. I can tell you my story. I updated my Mac to Big Sur, and I regret it to this day because there's so many things I can't do. And I know I keep getting that security thing. So it's don't do it if you have a Mac. Don't go to Big Sur.
Well, or go to Big Sur like me, and maybe you'll get lucky.
We got it.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. I am seeing it. So
Great. I will just tell me when to click.
I will tell. That's why Diana's here. She knows I'm the lowest common denominator. Okay, as was said by Molly, the title of my presentation is Breaking Out of Four Walls, and I am, and now we see Diana, which I love Diana. Yeah, I'm from the Taubman Health Sciences Library at the University of Michigan. Next slide, please. I love having this power.
Wait, I'm trying. Oh, it's a scroll. Okay, got it. Sorry.
Okay. So the NIH public access policy was mandated in April 7th, 2008. It requires that any publication by a grantee that cites the work that they have done that is funded by NIH grant be made publicly available in a PubMed Central, which is an open access repository at the NIH's National Library of Medicine. Because funding will be held up for the grantee, it is imperative that they comply with the policy. navigating the compliance steps requires a lot of interaction and a lot of complicated steps. And next slide, please. So I have been offering in-person workshops to the grantees and their support staff for many years. The difficulty with that is I have to find a venue with open dates and times. The venue has to have the resources that I need, which would be a computer for my PowerPoint presentation and audio and internet access for myself and for the attendees. So there's other resources that are needed, but those are the ones that are the main ones that I need to look for. Next slide, please. So before, is that really the next slide, Diana?
It says
Okay.
it's number 4.
Okay, well, unfortunately, it's supposed to be number 3, so maybe I sent you the wrong file. We'll move ahead. Okay, so I will tell you what's on number 3. So before COVID, our institution was locked down and it made it difficulty for me, as you can imagine, to present in person. The university locked down our building, locked down all the buildings on campus. Classes were suspended, research was suspended, and we were doing our work via Zoom. So it was impossible, of course, for me to do in-person classes. So I thought, well, I'm working on Zoom. And of course, now you see I don't have the control of Zoom that I should have. I said, why not offer classes virtually to those who need it? Next slide, please. So the Taubman Health Sciences did have an option for presenting in the library. It was called the multi-purpose room. I also had to make sure the time was available. Next slide, please. This room is quite small, so it limited the size of people that I could reach. Next slide, please. There was other options that I used, which were large lecture halls, which also had to be available at the time I needed. Here I am in all my glory presenting in this large lecture room. Next slide, please. So the changes, I think the changes that COVID brought to my institution, as I have mentioned, next slide, were university was locked down, classes were suspended, et cetera, et cetera. And as you can see, our library was shut down. Right on our webpage, it said we are closed, and we've been closed since the beginning of March. So next slide. So the room was not available, nor was the large lecture hall. So I decided, let me go and present virtually. So these are the classes that I have so far presented virtually via Zoom, which as you can see, I can do one right after the other. This is really helpful because having to have a venue, the attendees had to make sure that they could get to those places. They had to set aside a lot of time in their schedule to come to these workshops. And so doing it virtually was a plus. Next slide, please. So what will I take forward after COVID? At this point, I'm going to continue to offer the workshops virtually because it makes it easier for me to schedule the workshops for my own schedule. I have time, as I say, to fit it into my schedule. There's no need to find a venue with all the resources that I need. They're all available on my computer as long as I have Diana there to help me. And also it's easier for those who are attending to come to the Zoom workshops. And the subscription that we have at our institution is great. And I want to thank Diana for sending me this information that is necessary. Our Zoom meetings can hold up to 300 people. And we can also use a webinar where we give 500 to 1,000, which I would never do because as you can see, I need help with Diana for doing the Zoom. So this is what I'm going to take forward. I don't think I'll ever do, or I shouldn't say that, an in-person class again. I think this is more convenient for myself and for all the NIH grantees and for their staff who need to comply with this policy. Thank you, and I apologize profusely, and I thank Diana. I know she's going to send me her bill. And so there's a check in the mail, Diana, for your bill.
Thanks, Merle. That was a great aha moment. I mean, I think that that'll have a big impact on the institution, a positive outcome in that respect for years to come, for sure. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank
All
you,
right.
Diana.
Yeah, thank you, Diana.
Yeah,
Next up, we'll have Megan and then wrap it up with Diana, if that sounds good.
that's fine. Let me unshare.
Sure.
Did
Okay.
I unshare yet?
Everyone,
Yeah.
I'm just going to give a quick wave. I'm turning off my webcam just to conserve bandwidth. I'm operating out of a different space today, so I'm a little bit uncertain and want to make sure that this works, but it's so nice to be here. Let me quickly share my screen here. And there we go. Okay, great. So today I am going to be sharing the takeaways that I gained from walking the messy instructional road during this year of remote learning. And right off the bat, I want to speak to the fact that even beyond the unique challenges brought on by a global pandemic, library instruction is brimming with obstacles. So things like time, there honestly never seems to be enough of it. And also our context, it's almost always limited when we are walking into the classroom. Additionally, our tools and resources may not always be convenient for students and faculty to access and use. And then finally, there's content. We're often asked to cover all of the things, and there can be conflicting expectations from instructors on what we can and cannot offer. So many of those obstacles were present for me in an instruction request that I received from a humanities instructor this past winter. This instructor wanted me to teach a lesson on visual literacy that addressed 3 learning outcomes, would take place in 30 minutes or less, and had to be active with minimal lecture. And of course, I accepted the opportunity with outward enthusiasm that really masked the major internal panic and sense of impending doom that I actually felt. I really had no idea how I could successfully meet these requirements within the allotted time. So after allowing myself to sit with these big feelings for a beat, I turned to one of my favorite sayings, which is a Zen proverb that states that the obstacle is the path. And this gave me the perspective shift that I needed and allowed me to start searching for opportunities on the messy instructional road that I found myself on. So by taking this mental approach to the process, I found that there were actually plenty of opportunities available for my instructional situation, particularly flipped design and micro-learning. Flipped design would allow students to engage with content in their course learning management system with preparatory knowledge before the class session and further application and reflection after the class session. And then micro-learning would allow for learning content to be broken down into small, modular segments that could be mixed and matched as needed. So here are the specifics of how that played out for me. So before my session with them, students visited their Blackboard course and watched a quick video introducing the observe, analyze, and interpret method for reading images. They also participated in a discussion board reflection on the importance of reading images. And this basically offloaded all of the lecture content from the session and primed students for an active class session by giving them background knowledge before the session began. The 30-minute session itself took place over Zoom and was almost entirely active. I was able to quickly recap the introductory material and then broke students into small groups and placed them in breakout rooms. Each group applied the image reading process to a painting by responding to prompts on a Google Jamboard, while the instructor and I helped guide the discussion and ensure the flow of understanding. And then following group exploration and discussion, each group had the opportunity to report out what they discovered to the entire class. After the class session, students again returned to Blackboard to apply the final step of the image reading process, which involved researching background information on the painting to help them interpret its meaning. They were then invited to respond to reflection prompts through a blog post on their course shell, which served as a low-stakes form of summative assessment. And overall, this was a huge success for myself and the instructor. The instructor was really thrilled with the active nature of the sessions and the amount of content that we were able to cover in such a short period of time. And also the students were engaged during the class session, and they provided on-point, thoughtful reflections in their summative blog posts. So what will I take with me from this experience into the future? Well, first and foremost, tighter collaboration. Working remotely has gotten people more comfortable with using tools like chat, email, collaborative documents, and especially video conferencing for flexibly communicating and collaborating. And these tools are perfect for including faculty in the learning experience design process and asking for feedback along the way. Secondly, I will definitely be utilizing the learning management system a lot more and just finding creative ways to integrate that into my instructional practices. Many classes now take place in an LMS like Blackboard, Canvas, and Moodle, which are perfect vehicles for extending learning beyond the session itself into an environment and with tools that students and faculty already occupy and are using. And then finally, I'm going to continue to embrace agile tools and instructional methods, such as creating microlearning modules that can be rearranged depending on time and circumstance and are resistant to disruption. So that's my story, and I would love to hear from you guys. Have you used flip design and microlearning or even another technique that has you excited? It would be so great to hear your stories from the messy instructional road that we find ourselves in, even beyond the pandemic, and just hear some of your creative solutions. So my contact information is on the screen here. Please don't be a stranger. I would love to swap ideas and connect with any of you into the future. So that's the story, guys.
Thanks, Megan. That was awesome. That is a great lesson plan. I think all of us got a lot of ideas there. All right, let's turn it over to, I'm seeing lots of nodding heads. Let's turn it over to Diana for our last session, and then we'll open it up for questions and discussion.
All right, if everyone can just wave whatever lucky 10 then you have over the screen, just, yeah, thank you. Thanks for that transition, Megan, into the course management system. Let me see if I can share properly now. One moment, please. Okay, and rearrange my Zoom stuff. And oops, can I get a thumbs up from you, Molly, if you can see it? You can. Okay, good. Okay, excellent. So let me.
We see your script, Diana.
Oh, you're seeing my script. Well, hi, Patricia. Thanks, because that's not what I want you to see. Let me stop it up. Well, how did that? Oh, I got my whole screen. Okay, I'm stopping. Isn't it great when the person who's supposed to know what they're doing doesn't do it?
Thank you for being on the button with me, and I don't care that you failed with yourself. So
How's that?
It makes me feel bad because Diane is my go-to person for techie stuff.
Yeah, when I fail, we all fail. Okay, so I think I've got my slide one up, and I did have my script up. Thank you, Patricia. Somebody's going to time me, and I'm going to turn off my screen for the same reason Megan did. Thanks for that reminder, Megan. And plus, I don't want to look at myself while I'm talking to y'all. So I'm going to stop my video, and someone's going to probably start the clock for me. Okay, so I am Diana 1N Perpich. I'm presenting on behalf of a team of colleagues in the Learning and Teaching group, and also Library IT's Design and Discovery. It's a super short talk, so I am going to read from my script because otherwise I'll ramble. And I'll make the script available with the slides. So the library Tools Lti is an LMS tool, which means it's designed to be used in a course management system, in our case, Canvas. This LMS Lti tool was built by the design and discovery folks in Drupal 8. And it's designed as a collection of building blocks that can be customized and arranged in 1 or 2 columns by the instructor or library specialist. We designed and released it during the pandemic because we recognized the need to help instructors better organize and present course-specific library resources in the cleanest, clearest, and most welcoming way. Now I'm going to really hope that, oh, sorry, I'm on the wrong screen. There we go. Okay, so in practice, it can look like this, or it can look like this, or this, or a million other thises. And if you, to understand where we are, I think, allow me please 90 seconds to tell you where we came from. So before the pandemic, we were already offering 4 library tools, in air quotes, that instructors could add to their Canvas sites. We offered something we called Search, Ask a Librarian through Help. We offered LibGuides and library materials, which is the only one that really required much programming at all. Instructors added these to the sites. They turned them on. Some of them did, but they were very blunt objects, as maybe you can see from my screenshots. They improved discoverability because they were always available from any page at the course site at any time, but they just sort of sat there disconnected. The context of using the tools had to come from somewhere else. The syllabus, a one-shot, maybe something the instructor said or outlined in an assignment. Okay, we already had this Library Tools 2.0 project on the drawing board before the pandemic. The goal was a single one-stop library tool for Canvas, complete with context setting entry field, a text entry field, and these additional widgets to spotlight library staff and other resources. If that sounds like a glorified LibGuide, you are not wrong. Okay, we had recently removed or hidden, I saw Karen in the room, we had recently removed or hidden most of our course-specific LibGuides from the general public because they were overwhelming our search results for all users. So this new LTI tool could help fill that void. Okay, as it became clear during the pandemic, best practice for remote teaching aligned well with our proposal. Set clear context, give clear instructions, improve wayfinding, and prioritize ways to make human contact, both just in time and asynchronously. With the physical library closed, more than ever, we now needed to bring the students to the library to bring the library to the students. Development work began in earnest in December, and we turned this tool on, soft released in April. We expect to promote it broadly this summer, and we are still iterating, so we really welcome your comments on it. Anyone in the role of teacher or librarian or designer at the site can edit the library tools for that particular site. The page can be modified endlessly according to emerging needs, which of course is a plus and a minus because we don't want to over modify it, but I digress. That's not on my script. Below the banner is the all-important context setting introductory text field. It seems like a little thing. It's just an open text field, but it felt really important, particularly in the pandemic. And below that, you will see the opportunity to add whichever blocks in whichever order the instructor and or the library expert deems appropriate for that class for that moment. So the current blocks that are in the release are library search field, what we call library specialist or subject specialist, 2 tools for LibGuides, one to embed a complete guide and one to list a bunch of guides, a recommended databases listing, which I think is the one you see in the screenshot, a recommended videos listing, and a recommended resource listing of links, could be from anywhere. And we have some ideas about things that might be appropriate in the future. Things like linking to the citation collections tool and something like the study room sign up. So that's the new normal for us now. I have some resources. Doreen Bradley put together an excellent quick start video on how this works. And once I get the URL, I'll paste it in the chat. I can also share with people who are interested in learning more. I can do a live demo. Merle, it's easy. I don't have to go anywhere. I can share with you our final report.
He uses me all the time as a target.
I do.
wanted to
I've got the final report, that Google Doc that I had a screenshot of, and then I can work with the design and discovery folks about the Drupal specs, so that if you're thinking you might want to do something like that, this on your campus. So thank you, and I'm looking forward to discussion.
Thanks, Diana, and thanks to all of our speakers. I think we can give like a quick snap or clap. I think all of them had really great ideas for all of us. So thanks.